Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, anyway, it simulates updates. I was on holiday last week, so I don't have any updates.
No update from me.
A few updates from Nethermind side. We have implemented two tracing endpoints, parity style and get style. Also, I was looking through this hash mismatch issue. Today, I have found out that Nethermind does not incorporate request hash where get does. So that might be a problem. So very quickly, I'll check it. Other than that, everything is matching.
So we are not matching request hash?
Nethermind response, there is no request hash. Whether from while in get response, it has empty request hash.
Okay. Yeah, we should probably look at this. If you can send me some details, I'll be happy to check it.
Telegram, yeah, sure.
Where can I find the debug or the tracing endpoint? And is there some kind of specification for it on what is the input and what is the output of both of those methods?
Yeah, okay. These are the outputs and inputs. The PR is not merged yet, but anyway, I can paste the output and input here.
Yeah.
Telegram.
Yeah, I'm doing a small review on this PR, so I think it will be approved today, so we can merge it soon.
The input is this.
Before merging, I think we should approve that, or Sina should approve that it looks kind of the same that he would implement it, or is there anything that we need to change? With parity, I don't know, could we have somebody else who could check it, unless Sina has been working the parity tracing as well? Or are there any other nodes that are supporting parity tracing, like red or?
I think
Ref
Ericsson and Ref.
Ericsson. Exactly.
So I have pasted the outputs and input.
Yeah, I'm just looking at them. I guess Sina hasn't looked at those yet.
I'm looking now, slightly confused. I mean, I don't see trace.
Traces, if you scroll down.
Yeah, there's huge amount of blocks, and only after that there start to be.
Yeah, the last you can see one.
Yeah, there's
The last.
struct logs in this opcodes. Oh, yeah, these are really verbose.
Oh, I see. So we have added struct logs to the call object. Yeah, okay.
Is that struct logs same that get has? See like this. What is the PC? Well, that's the number of the opcode, I guess. I haven't been using the debug trace before, so I'm not familiar with this syntax.
Yeah, I mean the format looks the same. So PC opcode gas cost depth.
I guess the PC is just incremental number. Yeah.
PC is program counter.
Program
So
counter. That's the number instruction that you are executing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess the question for me is, what about the other types of tracer? Like if user wants to do pre-state, then where do we return this data? Probably, I mean, in the same place.
So what do you mean? Can you say? I didn't get that. Sorry.
Let's say the user wants to do a pre-state trace. And I'm
What is
just
pre-state trace?
it
Before the
will
block?
yeah, exactly. It tells you which parts of state you need to execute this transaction. And the values before the block, before the transaction is executed. So yeah, my question is, where do you guys see adding this result?
Same thing, right? So for us, it's internally you create a different tracer and they have different kind of results that are basically JSON blobs in the end. So you will get the same thing as you would run the pre-state tracer on a single transaction, just now on multiple transactions in this blocked form.
Yeah, okay. So basically what you're doing is like you have the calls up, we have the calls object in the response, and you replace that with the trace value.
Exactly.
And it's array because there can be multiple in the same block. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think on a high level, yeah, I think it's actually okay. Yeah.
Is there any extra parameters that we need to pass, or is there any settings for that we need for debug tracing, or is it the input is always the same?
Oh, yeah. So we will need some configuration objects. Like this is what we have in Geth. We allow you to set a specific tracer.
Yeah, the options objects. Yeah, we added it as a optional parameter, same as with the standard tracing.
Yeah, cool. Nice. Um,
I guess in this example that it's not enabled.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, tracing is complicated, but we generally have the same interface for tracing. So there's optional result in parity tracing. It's somewhat similar that you have, but it's the options are not an complicated object, JSON object, but it's a simple flags and like different flags that you can set. What kind of tracing do you want? And there's a trace, VM trace, state diff, something else, I think.
And at the moment, this method is called each simulate v1. So we probably want to rename this something else, and probably maybe in the other debug. I think we discussed about this before.
Oh, no, sorry. I said the wrong input. It should be debug and trace.
What is the method name?
Okay, let me check.
Let me just
Debug
paste it.
simulate v1 and trace simulate v1. Okay. There are different namespaces which correlate to there's output styling.
Yeah. So, Sina, do you think this looks okay and is something that you would want to implement as well?
Yeah. I think it looks okay. I mean, I will just check it against the trace block by hash because I think we might return some extra data like transaction hash as well. Just want to make sure we are compatible with that. And
Might be true there. Yeah, okay.
yeah, apart from that, like I guess one general question is if we all agree on basically returning the whole result, like a simulated result plus traces.
I feel we should return both because then otherwise you might need to do both calls and then it's harder to kind of get those to match. Now you know exactly that it was run against that. But yeah, this is going to be a really heavy method and it's probably going to be disabled in many of the nodes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that any of the public endpoints have enabled any of the debug or tracing methods anyway.
Actually, that's not true. I think some of the providers have.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I think Alchemy, for example.
Is there a chance that we hit payload limits with this? I would imagine these are huge outputs.
Yes. Yes, you can hit a payload limit with tracing even on one block or one transaction even at some point, depend on the limits.
Can the limit be different for different methods?
Not really.
I guess the challenge with this that with the debug trace, I think you are just tracing one transaction, and here you can trace like 100 transactions, and that's going to be huge.
Yes. Could be. But you could, if you really wanted it to, for example, local node, you can just change the limits and do it if you really want it, right?
Yep. I'm just wondering for the RPC providers that they could.
Also, yeah, it depends on the tracer, because if you're like using more concrete tracers, which are built in, or just like preset tracer, you can just run that, and that's generally not that huge. So potentially, like you're even tracing 20 transactions, and each of them like modifies only a few storage slots. That the diff wouldn't be that big. So it is useful. It just has limits of its usefulness.
Yeah. Should we have test cases for this as well? Or do we expect that these are matching each other?
I wouldn't do too much because tracing is like huge in itself. So there might be might be good to have a smoke test case, right? That's like the simplest things works more or less as expected, but I wouldn't like have a deep cases that uh, go deeply into the tracing structure.
Yeah. But I guess if you're still having some hash differences or other issues, then this is probably a very good way to debug those, why the hashes are different.
Might be, but it doesn't have to be. Depends on why we have the hash differences. So it's actually quite complicated thing to answer.
Yeah. And then what do you do with the parity tracing? I guess Gate will never implement that.
No. So it's depends. It's between the other clients than Geth, to be honest. So it's there. So
I think it would be good to ask feedback from some other client about that.
yeah, I think Rev Rarigan has it. I'm not sure if Bezu has it or not.
Yeah. And I guess we don't have red here. Yeah, there's ways. Gabriel was from red.
Yeah, Gabriel from Besu.
Yeah. I am from Besu, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, two concrete feedbacks from me. One was the making sure it aligns with trace block methods. I think we might have to just add a TX hash in there. And the other thing is whether the field like calls is I would push back a bit on that. On the naming of the field, like I would tend to go for a different field name than what we return in ETH simulate. So that there's no type collision.
Which
Maybe
type
something
collision
like
there is?
traces or something.
Oh, you mean it's called calls? Is the new field?
Yeah, in ETH simulate as well as debug simulate.
You mean you want to change the ETH simulate spec once again?
No. I would change the debug simulate specs when there is one. So just to replace in the result of a debug simulate, then we have the block fields and then we have the calls, which has the actual traces. I would just rename this field to maybe traces or something else. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I can see that. I'm fine with traces. The other fields are standard. The gas, failed, return value, and the struct logs. Those are standard. The gas, for example, for me is a bit confusing because otherwise we use gas used and gas limit as separate, and I guess that is gas used.
Yeah, I'm never a fan of gas because it's ambiguous.
That is in the calls, there's gas, and then inside the struct logs there's also gas. There's gas and gas cost.
No, that's unfortunate.
I would imagine the struct logs changing that is a bit difficult if that's the standard format. But I don't think above there's also that gas. If we can that rename, that would be better. But if that's also something that it is standard in the get tracing, then I wouldn't change it. I shared in the Telegram those fields that I'm talking about.
You're talking about renaming the traces fields. I think that's a hard sell.
Are those both of the tracings? The struct logs is traced, and that is inside the calls, and that gas field is that's also part of the trace.
Yeah, the gas, failed, return value, they are all part of the trace.
Okay. Yeah, then I wouldn't touch them. Even though it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And the error is also null in almost those. I would also remove it if it doesn't exist, but I guess that's also, it has to be null if there's no error.
I think we don't emit null if it's empty.
So then that's maybe different in the Ethereum I don't get. There's also stack and storage, and those are also emitted if they are empty.
Yeah, we were doing some potential changes to the traces to be more in line in GAF, but yeah, then probably not everything is yet aligned. But I would treat it outside of the scope of this. Otherwise, we will just increase the scope indefinitely.
I mean, I would keep them as they are in the standard. I'm just wondering if the standard is like that or not. But I guess there's no good definition of what is the standard either.
Yeah, I mean, now there's a new initiative from Daniel to standardize tracing. So let's see where that goes.
And there's somebody working on it, and it's not just an idea.
I think so. I think they plan to do it for EOF at least.
You mean for EOF, all the RPC methods, or just the EOF stuff? I think the EOF is very kind of consensus critical code, so I would imagine that.
So concretely, it's standardizing traces of an EOF execution.
Okay. So I guess things to do would be that then to get to start implementing this tracing method. And then I would like to get somebody else to review the parity tracing. If there's somebody can give comments on that, they can ask Gabriel about it. Can you share the pull request? I think you have shared it before, but I don't have it now. Then we also had discussion about those gas things, and I guess we still don't have any feedback from the node providers. So then I would just go ahead and implement either of those options with the gas estimation stuff for the ETH simulate v2.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
And I guess we didn't have agreement or consensus on which one we should go with.
Should we tackle one at a time? So if we're now doing tracing, then focus on that. And
we can do that. I don't know which is more important. I thought the simulating or the gas stuff was high priority. At least
that is yeah, that is how I feel too. But I mean, now that we have one tracing implementation, I think can also do the other one.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean,
yeah, it probably doesn't take you long to do it. Maybe 1 week, and then you have it.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, we can then delay that for 1 week. Do anything else to discuss? I guess not. So see you next week then.